And France and Germany urge President Putin to engage in peace talks as Russia continues its offensive in eastern Ukraine. The leaders of France and Germany have urged President Putin of Russia to hold serious, direct negotiations with Ukraine's president on how to bring the war in Ukraine to an end. Emmanuel Macron and Olaf Scholz spoke to Mr. Putin by phone for 80 minutes in their first three-way conversation since March. Russian forces are continuing to make gains in the east of Ukraine. Troops, together with Moscow-backed militia units, are reported to have taken another key city in the Donbass region. Moscow says its forces have taken full control of Liman, close to Severodonetsk, the easternmost place under Ukraine control, which is facing sustained attack. From Kiev, Joe Inwood sent this report.
The scars of war etched into the fields around Liman. This city has been the scene of fierce fighting for weeks. Now the Russians say they have taken it. If true, that leaves the route open to Slavyansk, a key objective for President Putin in his war.
If the occupiers think that Liman and Severodonetsk will be theirs, they are wrong. Donbass will be Ukrainian.
But this is the firepower they are up against. Russian multiple-launch rocket systems have been devastating in this war. Ukraine's leaders say they need them too. It's understood to be under active consideration by their allies, who say that despite their overwhelming firepower, Russia is not having an easy time.
They are facing and continue to face a stiff Ukrainian resistance, which is why I won't go so far as to say it's too late to provide the Ukrainians with any system or capability that they might need.
But with each day that passes and each Russian gain, the tide of this war seems to be turning against the Ukrainians. They know that help is coming. The question is, will it be too late? Joe Inwood, BBC News, Kiev.
President Putin has been urged by the leaders of France and Germany to engage in serious negotiations with Ukraine as his forces continue to gain ground in the country's east. In an 80-minute call, the Russian leader said he was willing to look at resuming grain exports. Shortages have been pushing up global food prices. Well, Lucy Watson is in Kiev for us. Lucy, how likely is it that these talks will actually change anything?
Well, Duncan, President Putin is in effect using food for the world as blackmail. 400 million people around the globe are fed by what Ukraine produces, and that produce cannot get out. It cannot be exported out of this country because of Russia's blockade of the Black Sea ports. Now, today, Putin said that he is willing to discuss ways to get it out. But in exchange, he's likely to want a lifting of sanctions on Russia, and that seems incredibly unlikely. Now, meanwhile, there has been a shift in momentum in this war. Russian troops are close to seizing control of the Luhansk region of the Donbass. They've encircled today the town of Liman and taken control of that. And they continually pound the life out of Severodonetsk, the largest city in the Donbass. Now, despite Ukrainian resistance, it is very likely that the troops in Ukraine are going to have to withdraw, to retreat from these areas, else risk being captured.
Sri Lanka's government says it's received a shipment of oil from Russia to help tackle a crippling energy crisis. The country's energy minister says the government now plans to restart its only oil refinery and hopes to buy more from Russia. Meanwhile, protests in the capital, Colombo, entered a fifth consecutive day. Police used water cannons and tear gas to disperse demonstrators, bringing down barricades outside the residence of the country's president, Gotabaya Rajapaksa. Protesters are calling for the president's resignation. They accuse him of mishandling the economy.